Parabrahmane Namaha, Shri Matre Namaha. In the society, one's life is judged by his good conduct and love towards other beings. One should possess these type of qualities to enlighten his life into prosperous way. Otherwise, it gives all the adversities in a row. Sheelam hi paramam bhushanam is a wise saying. Character is the good ornament to all. If he who does not follow the path of righteous path or right path, definitely his conduct will be ruined. Whatever he may be learned, earned, but conduct plays a major role to judge his life. No wealth, no health, no fame, no name can protect a person unless he possesses good conduct or good character. Because, especially in our Indian tradition and culture, the conduct is given the highest and exalted place in one's life. Unless a person possesses good conduct or love towards others, his life is mere futile or waste to live in this earth. How can he improve his good conduct? How can he express his love towards other beings? Expressing love towards other beings means not only human beings, even to the beings created by the God, animals, birds, etc. These types of merits makes a person into limelight. Otherwise, will be in the darkness. It can be cured by jnana, lightness, but not by ajnana, darkness. There is a lot of difference between a good conduct and love. Good conduct has to come by birth or it should be adapted from childhood. Love is a typical one. He has to love by birth or seeing others, has to learn how to love other creatures in the society. Unless he knows these two things of good conduct and love, he is considered like an animal. Why? God has given sixth sense to differentiate between good and bad. He should live like a swan. Hamsa Kshira Nira Nyayam. Why? Swan is meant for differentiating milk from water. Like that, a person should differentiate good from bad. Then only his good conduct will be developed. He can learn how to love others. First of all, he has to love himself. Because God is an incarnation of love. God seeks a person who loves all the beings. When you love all the beings equally like you, definitely God will be there to love you. God's love and affection will be always with you when you seek such qualities. If a person wants to uplift his lifestyle, he has to possess these type of merits in the form of good conduct and love. Otherwise, he is considered like a beast, though he may be a person of learned one, errand one. Therefore, we should give priority for these. Basing on this, today I took the topic of good conduct and love. Start with prayer. ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां हयग्रीवमुपास्महे. The 6 points of good conduct which are specially required are given in our Dharma Shastras. How? Let us find out what are the 6 qualities. Self-control as to the mind. Self-control in action. Tolerance. Cheerfulness. One-pointedness. Confidence. These 6 jewels makes a person into blissful life. Some of these are often translated differently, as are the names of the qualifications. But in all cases, we can find in our Dharma Shastras. Let us get the detailed description of 6 merits. First of all, self-control as to the mind. The qualification of desirelessness shows that the astral body must be controlled. This shows the same thing as to the mental body. It means control of temper so that you may feel no anger or impatience of the mind itself, so that the thought may always be calm and unruffled, and through the mind of the nerves, so that they may be a little irritable as possible. This last is difficult because when you try to prepare yourself for the path, you cannot help making your body more sensitive so that its nerves are easily disturbed by a sound or a shock and feel any pressure acutely. But you must do your best, your level best. The calm mind, peaceful mind also means also courage, so that you may face without fear the trials and difficulties of the path. It means also steadiness, so that you may make light of the troubles which come into everyone's life, not in one's life, and avoid the incessant worry over little things in which many people spend most of their time. The Master teaches that it does not matter in the least what happens to a man from the outside. So, what are the outside? Sorrows, troubles, sickness, losses. All these must be as nothing to him and must not be allowed to affect the calmness of his mind, peace of his mind. They are the result of past actions, and when they come to you, you must bear them cheerfully, remembering that all evil is transitory and that your duty is to remain always joyous and serene. They belong to your previous lives, not to this life. You cannot alter them, so it is useless to trouble about them. Think rather of what you are doing now, which will make the events of your next life, for that you can alter. Never allow yourself to feel sad or depressed, because it inflicts the lifestyle. Depression is wrong. Not only it affects you and makes others' lives also harder, which you have no right to do so. Therefore, if ever it comes to you, throw it off at once. In yet another way, you must control your thought. You must not let it wander. Whatever you are doing, fix your thought upon it, that it may be perfectly done. Do not let your mind be idle. Why? Idle mind is devil's workshop. It's a wise saying, is it not? But keep good thoughts always in the background of it, ready to come forward the moment it is free. Use your thought power every day for good purposes. Be a force in the direction of evolution. Think each day of someone whom you know to be in sorrow or suffering or in need of your help and pour out loving thought upon him. Hold back your mind from pride because pride alone enough to ruin you entirely. For pride comes only from ignorance. The man who does not know things that he is great, that he has done this or that great thing. The wise man knows that only God is great, that all good work is done by God alone. Number two, self control in action. If your thought is what it should be, you will have little trouble with your action. Yet remember that to be useful to mankind, thought must result in action. There must be no laziness but constant activity in good work. But it must be your own duty that you do not another man's unless with his permission and by way of helping him. Leave every man to do his own work in his own way. Be always ready to offer help where it is needed, but never interfere in others' matter. For many people, the most difficult thing is in the world to learn is to mind their own business. But that is exactly what you must do. Because you try to take up higher work, you must not forget your ordinary duties. For until they are done, you are not free for other service. You should undertake new worldly duties, but those which you have already taken upon you, you must perfectly fulfill all clear and reasonable duties which you yourself recognize that is not imaginary duties which others try to impose upon you. If you are able to be his, you must do ordinary work better than others, not worse, because you must do that for God's sake. Third one, tolerance. It is a good ornament to a man. You must feel perfect tolerance for all and a hearty interest in the beliefs of those of another religion, just as much as in your own. For their religion is a path to the highest, just as yours is. And to help all, serve all, love all, you must understand all. But in order to gain this type of perfect tolerance, you must yourself first be free from bigotry and superstition. You must learn that no ceremonies are necessary. Else, you will think yourself somehow better than those who do not condemn others who still cling to ceremonies. Let them do as they will. Only they must not interfere with you that which you have outgrown. Make allowance for everything. Be kindly towards everything. Now that your eyes are opened, some of your old beliefs, your old ceremonies may seem to you absurd. Perhaps, indeed, they really are so. Yet, though you can no longer take part in them, respect them for the sake of those good souls to whom they still important. They have their place. They have their use. They are like those double lines which guided you as a child to write straight and evenly until you learn to write far better and more freely without them. There was a time when you needed them, but now that time is past. A great teacher once wrote, when I was child, I spake as a child. I understand as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. Yet he who has forgotten his childhood and lost sympathy with the children is not the man who can teach them or help them. So, look kindly, gently, tolerantly upon all, but upon all alike, Buddhist or Hindu, Jain or Jew, Muslim or Christian, whomsoever it may be. Fourth one, cheerfulness. You must bear your karma carefully, whatever it may be, taking it as a humor that suffering comes to you because it shows that the lords of karma think you worth helping. However hard it is, be thankful that it is not worse. Remember that you are of but little use to the master until your evil karma is worked out and you are free. By offering yourself to God, you have asked that your karma may be hurried. And so now, in one and two lives, you work through what otherwise might have been spread over 100. But in order to make the best out of it, you must bear it cheerfully, gladly. Yet another point is that you must give up all feelings of possession. Karma may take from you the things which you like best, even the people whom you love most. Even then, you must be cheerful, ready to part with anything and everything. Often the master needs to pour out his strength upon others through his servant. He cannot do that if the servant yields to depression. So cheerfulness must be the rule. Fifth one pointedness. The one thing that you must set before you is to do the master's work. Whatever else may come in your way to do, that at least you must never forget. Yet nothing else can come in your way. For all helpful, useful fish work is the master's work, and you must do it for his sake, God's sake. And you must give all your attention to each piece as you do it, so that it may be your very best. That same teacher also wrote, whatsoever you do it heartily, as to the Lord, and not unto men. Think how you would do a piece of work if you know that way you must do all your work. Those who know most will most know all that verse means. And there is another like it, much older. Whatsoever your hand find to do it with your might. One pointedness means, two, that nothing shall ever turn you, even for a moment, from the path upon which you have entered. No temptations, no worldly pleasures, no worldly affections even must ever draw you aside. For you yourself must become one with that path. It must be so much a part of your nature that you follow it without needing to think of it and cannot turn aside. You, the monad, have decided it to break away from it would be to break away from yourself. Sixth one, confidence. Confidence is a key or major role in one's life to enlighten his lifestyle. You must trust your master. You must trust first yourself. If you have seen the master, you will trust him to the uttermost through many lives and deaths. If you have not yet seen him, you must still try to realize him and trust him, because if you do not, even he cannot help you. Unless there is a perfect trust there, cannot help you. Unless there is a perfectness there, cannot be perfect flow of love and power. In this regard, what you have to say, what you have to do, you must trust yourself. You say, you know yourself too well. If you feel so, you do not know yourself. You know only the weak outer husk, which has fallen often into the mire. But you, the real you are a spark of God's own fire, and God, who is Almighty, is in you. And because of that, there is nothing that you cannot do. I am a man. I can do this thing, and I will. For your will must be like a tempered steel if you would tread the path. Another one is love. Of all the qualifications, love is the most important, for if it is strong enough in a man, it forces him to acquire all the rest, and all the rest without it would never be sufficient. Often it is translated as an intense desire for liberation from the round of births and deaths and for union with God. This life, happiness and sorrow comes and goes. Chakravat parivartante sukhani cha dukhani cha. Happiness and sorrows are always like a rolling wheel. Comes up and goes down. So, for this we should not give an importance. But to put it in that way sounds selfish and gives only part of the meaning. It is not so much desire as will, resolve, determination. To produce its result, the resolve must fill your whole nature so as to leave no room for any other feeling. It is indeed the will to be one with God, not in order that you may escape from weariness and suffering, but in order that because of your deep love for God, you may act with God and as God does. Because God is love, you, if you would become one with God, must be filled with perfect unselfishness and love also. In daily life, this means two things: that you shall be careful to do not hurt into any living thing, any living being. Second, that you shall always be watching for an opportunity to help them forever. First, to do no hurt. Three sins there are which work more harm than all else in the world: gossip, cruelty, and superstition. Because they are sins against love. Against these three, the man who would fill his heart with the love of God must watch ceaselessly. See what gossip does? It begins with evil thought, and that it itself in a crime. For in everything there is evil. Either of these we can strengthen by thinking of it, and in this way we can help or hinder evolution. We can do the will of Logos or we can resist him. If you think of the evil in another, you are doing at the same time three wicked things. First, You are filling your neighborhood with evil thought instead of with good thought, and so you are adding to the sorrow of the world. 2. If there is in that man the evil which you think, you are strengthening it and feeding it. And so you are making your brother worse instead of better. But generally, the evil is not there, and you have only fancied it. And then your wicked thought tempts your brother to do wrong, for if he is not yet perfect, you may make him that which you have taught him. 3rd, you fill your mind. What mind? Your own mind with evil thoughts instead of good. And so you hinder your own growth and make yourself for those who can see an ugly and painful object instead of a beautiful and lovable one. Not content with having done all this harm to himself and to his victim, the gossip tries with all his might to make other men partners in his crime. Eagerly he tells his wicked tale to them, hoping that they will believe it, and they join with him in pouring evil thought upon in poor sufferer. And this goes on day after day, and is done not by one man but by thousands. Do you begin to see how base, how terrible a sin this is? You must avoid it altogether. Never speaks ill of another, but gently say, perhaps this is not true, and even if it is kinder, not to speak of it. Then, as to cruelty, this is of two kinds, intentional and unintentional. Intentional cruelty is purposely to give pain to another living being, and that is the greatest of all the sins. The work of a devil rather than a man. You would say that no man could do such a thing, but men have done it often and are daily doing it now. The inquisitors did it. Many religious people died it in the name of their religion. Vivisectors do it. Many schoolmasters do it habitually. All these people try to excuse their brutality by saying that it is the custom. But a crime does not cease to be a crime because many commit it. Karma takes no account of custom. Note it down. And the karma of cruelty is the most terrible of all. In India, at least there can be no excuse for such customs. For the duty of harmlessness is well known to all. The fate of cruel must fall also upon all who go out intentionally to kill God's creatures and call it sport. Such things as these you would not do, I know. And for the sake of love of God, when opportunity offers, you will speak clearly against him. But there is a cruelty in speech as well as in act. And a man who says a word with in the intention to wound another is guilty of the crime. That too you would not do. But sometimes the careless word does as much as harm malicious one. So you must be on your guard against unintentional cruelty. It comes usually from thoughtlessness. A man is so filled with greed and avarice that he never even thinks of the suffering which he causes to others by paying too little or by half starving his wife and children. Another thinks only of his own lust and cares little how many souls and bodies he ruins in satisfying it, just to save himself a few minutes trouble. A man does not pay his workmen on the proper day, thinking nothing of the difficulties he brings upon them. So much suffering is caused just by carelessness, by forgetting to think how an action will affect others. But karma never forgets. and it takes no account of the fact that men forget. If you wish to enter the path, you must think of the consequences what you do, lest you should be guilty of thoughtless even cruelty. He who is on the path exists not for himself, but for others. He has forgotten himself in order that he may serve them. He is as a pen in the hand of God, through which his thought may flow and find for itself an expression down here which without a pen it could not have. Yet at the same time, he is also a living plume of fire, raying out upon the world the divine love which fills in heart, the wisdom which enables you to help, the will which directs the wisdom, the love which inspires the will. These are your qualifications. Will, wisdom, and love are the three aspects of the Logos, and you who wish to enroll yourselves to serve God must show forth these aspects in the world. श्रीकांताय कल्याण निधे निधेनाम श्री वेंकट निवासाय श्रीनिवासाय मंगलम मंगलाशासनपरैर्मदाचार्य पुरोगमैः सर्वैश्च पूर्वैराचार्य सत्कृतायास्तु मंगलम्.